Hello again. Here we are to talk about JavaScript. We're working on our Titanic visualization, and so far we've got this visualization here. I'm still not sure why these are out of place, but we'll deal with that later. So let's imagine that we want to create another visualization. So we want to show maybe a bar graph that shows like the height of the bars, displays how many passengers embarked at each of the stations, okay? And maybe that's easier to read for some information, right? And also along the way, maybe we want to add a second visualization to our web page, right? So here I am back in my document, and I'm going to the index.html file, and this is where we have our current visualization. So why don't we add another one here? So I'm going to add a new div, and the bars are going to go in here, and we'll give this div an ID. So we'll say Titanic embarked. I don't know, right? So now we've got a new place where we can put some information or display some things, right? So we've got this. Let's copy this name here and go to our script tag. And this, like everything from here down, is that first visualization. So you might put some comments in there, and we can kind of group all this code together. You can even move this to another file. I'm going to kind of just push it down the page, and then I'll do the new visualization up here. So we need a variable to hold the bars. So I'm going to call this Titanic embarked, and we'll say document.query selector, and we'll put the ID name of our new div here, right? And next, what we need to do is we need to count the passengers that embarked at each stop. So let's say embarked counts, and we'll do data.reduce. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to reduce the Titanic data here of all 900 passengers or 891 passengers to an object with 3 keys, one for each of the stops. And actually there'll be a 4th key for the undefined, right? Okay, so first of all, we need a reduce function. And then the second parameter for reduce is, God, this thing is so annoying. So the second parameter for reduce is the value that we want to return. It's our accumulator. So we're going to accumulate our data in this object right here. So first parameter is a function. Second parameter is an object. So our function, the reduce function, is going to take the accumulator and a passenger. So I'll just put P for passenger. That'll be easy to keep track of. And then I'm going to add a line return here inside the function because we'll need a few lines to handle the code here for reduce. Okay, so whatever we do here, we got to remember that we're going to return the accumulator. Okay, so that always happens in reduce. Okay, second, let's check and see if, essentially, when we get this passenger, it has an embarked property, and embarked is equal to S, C, Q, or undefined. Okay, so let's check it and see if this value here is on the accumulator object, right? So there's no keys here. So let's imagine the first passenger embarked at Southampton. So their embarked property is S, right? So we want to see if the S key, exists here, like one passenger or something, right? But it doesn't exist, right? So if I say ACC bracket passenger fields dot embarked, right? This would be, the S, kind of like string, S like that, right? So if that key exists, it doesn't, right? But if it did, then this would be, this would be true. But if I do, equals undefined, then we know that this, this embarked key doesn't exist over here, right? So what we do, if that key doesn't exist, let's make it, right? So I'm just going to do the same thing here, p.fields.embarked. So that'll create the key, and then we'll give it a value of 1. So, we know that like there's no passengers embarked at Southampton. We get the first passenger. The Southampton doesn't exist on our accumulator object because it shows up as undefined. So we create that key and give it a value of 1 because we have 1 passenger, okay? So let's put an else statement in here. And let's imagine that, the second passenger shows up and the embarked property is S. It's the same as the first one, and that one now already exists here, right? Because we just created it with the first, reduce pass, right? So if that exists, then this won't be undefined, in which case we'll be down here in the else, and what we can do is we can say, let's just copy that, right? And we can say, hey, for this field, let's add 1. Okay, so that means like plus equals 1, so we'll add 1, right? So when we do that, we should have an object at the end that looks roughly like this. It'll be like S of, 300 passengers, and C of, 200 passengers, and Q of, 100 passengers or something, right? And then there'll actually be an undefined on there for the passengers where we don't know their embarked property, right? And there'll be like 2 of those, okay? So now that we've got that, let's try and make some HTML from it, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make some divs, and I want to make a div for each key inside this object, right? So I need an array of the keys so I can map to my you could do this with another for loop too. I'm going to just use map, filter, and reduce because they're kind of convenient, right? So we need a set of embarked keys. So let's make that. So I'm going to say const embarked keys equals object dot keys, and we'll say embarked counts. So if embarked counts is an object, keys will make an array of all the keys in that object. So this should be an array of our keys. So now we're good to go. Okay, so let's make our things. Let's do embarked keys dot for each, and our for each function is going to take in a, what do we call it? Let's call it an E for embarked. I don't know, right? Okay. I just like, for some reason, for these temporary variables, I kind of, it's a bad habit maybe, but I just make them short. Okay, so I've got embarked keys. I'm going to for each on these, and so the value at embarked counts for this key is going to be the number of passengers, right? So first of all, we have to make an element. So let's say const element, or this is going to be the bar, right? So it's going to be an HTML element, but it's going to be one of the bars. So let's do element equals document dot create element, and we'll create a div. So no need for the, for these guys, right? We just say div and it'll make the tag. And then const, or actually we don't need const, let's do our HTML, container element that with the ID that we gave it here. Let's append these to that container. So let's do embarked or Titanic embarked dot append child, right? And we'll add element here. So now we have a div here with the 3 or 4 elements in it. We don't see it because they don't have any size or height or anything, right? So let's see now. Let's do let's set some properties. So let's say element dot style dot width equals, and let's make each one like 30 pixels, right? And then we'll say element dot style dot height equals, now this is the tricky bit here, like how tall should the passengers be? So we're just going to kind of ballpark it right now, but we could make a better system for this by normalizing the data. But for right now, we'll just set it in 1 pixel per passenger, okay? So I'm going to use the backticks here, and I got to get the number. So I'll take the embark counts right here. And remember, we're looping over the keys, so E should be the key, the embarked key. So if I take the object embark counts, and then I put the key here, it should give me the value. So that should be the number of passengers, right? And then I can put pixels there for the height, okay? Oh, so now I can see, like, actually it's, the page has gotten a lot taller, so some of the bars are here, but I can't see them yet because they don't have a color. So let's do style dot background color equals, and you could give it a color. Let's actually, if I made this these colors up here, if I made this kind of a global variable, I can use it in both places. So let's actually take this port color out of here and then move it up to the top, right, with our other constants, right? So there's a, oh man, what did now I broke the other one. Well, let's not worry about that. I'll fix that in a minute, right? So anyway, so I got my port color here, right? So let's take the port color, and then our key again is going to match the key for the port, right? Because I think that's what we did here, right? We got S, C, and Q, right? So we'll take the port value here and make our port show up. Oh, there we go, right? So there we see, like, most of the passengers got on at Southampton. Blue, I think, is Chartham, or I forget. And then the Q is Queenstown, right? Or the orange, right? And then the undefineds are black. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, but normally, like, maybe we don't want to stack the bars. We want to maybe put them side by side. So and that other problem fixed itself too, so that's good, right? Okay, so how do we get these things to sit side by side, right? So that's going to be part of this container div. So the container div, we got to get some styles on it. So what I'm going to do is, let's actually even just do these styles down here. Let's say Titanic embarked dot style dot flex, or wait, no, display equals flex, right? Oh, and then there's all my bars side by side, so that's a good start, right? Maybe the bars need a little bit of margin around them. So let's go back up to the for each here, and so the element is the bar. So let's say element dot style dot margin equals 1 pixel, right? So that's a little better, but now I want them to align at the bottom. So now I'm using flex. So flex is going to, if I just say display flex, they'll arrange horizontally, but they're aligning at the top. So that's align items, flex start. But what I want to do here is I want them to align at the bottom. So what I'll do is I'll set, Titanic embarked dot style dot align, and remember it's camel case, align items equals flex end. Oh, okay, so there now we got a bar graph, right? And that's kind of, again, like I kind of ballparked it here because this is set in pixels, right? So better for us would have been to, and this is a challenge for you, is to find the total number of passengers and divide the number of passengers at the embarkation, the total from this embarked counts, right? So the count, right, for each embarkation, find that, divide it by the total, and that'll give you the percent, right? You have to multiply by 100. So divide by the total, multiply by 100, and then set the height here as a percent instead of in pixels, right? And then the thing is, you'll have to set the height of Titanic embarked, so the height of the container, and then these bars will be a percentage of that height, okay? So I'll leave that for you to challenge you there, and then maybe I'll cover it in the next video.